What's up, Taurus? We got a card description from the herbal that was pulled from the Herbal Astrology Oracle deck. This is by Adriana Ayales, and then we'll go into the reading after. Okay. So this particular card is Yarrow, with the subtext of harmony, equilibrium, balance, discernment, neuropsychic shield, divinatory empathy, sensitivity. The Latin name for Yarrow comes from the hero of Greek myth, Achilles, who was said to give Yarrow to his soldiers to heal wounds and staunch bleeding during the Trojan War. Embraced back thousands of years in healing practices, including Ayurveda, the traditional medicine and Native American practices in Spain, a 50,000-year-old Neanderthal skull was found with traces of yarrow in their teeth. Yarrow's historical use as a divinatory flower is extensive. In China, yarrow stalks are gathered and the straightest ones are collected for scattering to read the divinatory I Ching. Called the devil's nettle or devil's plaything in Europe traditions, it was one of the herbs dedicated to the evil one and used for divination and spells. Ruled by Venus, yarrow is said to provide relief from patterns of disharmony and help cleanse one of unhealthy sorrow or trickling depression. Yarrow embodies harmony, a key concept of the Venusian symbology. The balancing force, represented by Libra, one of Venus's ruler, is an appropriate metaphor for how harmonizing yarrow is as a medicine. Venus, as the archetypical manifestation of beauty and aesthetics, also represents self-love, unity, and empathy. This is the guidance portion. If you're feeling emotionally drained or too sensitive for today's world, it's time to set solid boundaries and to regain balance. Use your empathic abilities as grounding cords to your psychic powers and divinatory skills. Allow your sensitivity to be a filter for what is allowed within your psychic field and what isn't. Like the magic of the white heron, move slowly with precision as you navigate emotional waters. Heron teaches us the power of self-reflection as a way to transcend judgmental projections and low self-worth. Draw clear boundaries and examine yourself from a detached perspective. Don't blame your situations or others as a reason to remain stuck. Yarrow's white light teaches us the power of shielding while remaining gentle in the process of self-discovery. I think one of the first things I want to really mention is the idea of, first off, yarrow is ruled by Venus, or Taurus is also ruled by Venus. But so this idea in particular, I think, is really important because yarrow being ruled by Venus, Venus is the sun that is associated with like beauty, harmony, as we talked about, right? So like beauty, harmony, art, also things like nature and stuff like that, but music as well. But the idea here that I'm really getting is that all of these things are important to warriors in a lot of different cases, right? When we talk about yarrow, we start off by mentioning Achilles and how he was said to give his soldiers yarrow to heal wounds, and this idea of yarrow being found in the in just ancient peoples altogether, and this is interesting because when we talk about this idea of what you can do, what you can contribute, we often have an over reliance on the on this archetype of what Mars is in a lot of cases. And I think it's definitely fair to have reliance and show emphasis there, but in terms of the ignoring of the Venusian things, right? So when we talk about art, music, nature, things like that, those things have real places in the world, and they are important for even the most Martian of peoples. When it comes down to your ability to kind of your value, if you have a system right now to where you don't really place any type of emphasis or value in the art, I know a lot of us are kind of in a mode where we're taking a lot of time to consume things like media, things like our phones, and we're becoming kind of like overly focused on creators, but not on really our ability to create in a lot of cases. I want you guys to understand that this moment in history, or this moment in time, I called it history, this moment in time right now, it's relying on you as a creator, as creation, to create. So do not underestimate your ability to create, what kind of impact that will have on the world. I recommend you guys take a little bit of time every day to work on your skill, at least, right? Even if you're working every day, just take a little bit of time before and a little bit of time after, and like a snowball, let it build, or like a kind of, what is it called, a snowball that's rolling and it kind of builds up momentum. Let it build up momentum, right? I'm picturing a ladder, right? But the rungs haven't yet materialized in a lot of cases, right? But you have one rung there, but you kind of have yet to really see the whole ladder, because once you really grasp onto the first rung, you start to see the second rung materializes, and so forth and so on. Okay? When it comes down to your abilities now, I want to say, don't look at what's going on, what you can do, today, as this empty set for ladders, right? Because a lot of us, especially when you're constantly consuming online, like you're looking at, especially when it comes down to like art and things like that, you may be looking at things that are like the top of the top, right? People have to like dedicate a lot of time and energy to get to those places, but you don't quite see that. You don't understand that these people are, a lot of times are just what they, in terms of the amount of people that haven't quite reached there, and you can be easily disillusioned by the idea and the amount of competition out there by what you see online a lot of times. So one, I would say, don't limit this aspect of really you being a consumer, and try to be a creator, right? Try to create your own art in a lot of cases, and you can do that in a lot of different ways, right? Like one thing that I'd like, if you guys are going like off the extreme end in terms of actually trying to kind of disconnect from them, just the online world in general, if you have like an option to de-Google your phone, particularly if you have like Pixel phones, you can do that. You can even go into like different just deleting social media apps altogether. on your phone and just kind of keeping a journal or something like that, but work on it. Absolutely work on it. Your ability as a creator is what this is really one of the strongest things that's coming out, is that a lot of you guys could be underestimating your ability to create, what that means and what it can mean for the rest of the world. And also, when it comes down to your abilities to really ground, also look at grounding practices, of course, right? When you're walking through nature, when you're taught, like, you try to create relationships with different, like, trees. I know this kind of sounds weird, but talking to trees, talking to, the lake, the river, whatever, start talking to them, or talking to them, but start opening yourself up to that idea of, because the idea is that we all have this energetic exchange taking place regardless, but when we take advantage of that and start utilizing and creating relationships, those energetic exchanges become more powerful. So you can start to work on that a lot more and get that into an actual, allow it to become a formal practice for yourself. And you can develop a relationship and really, really help yourself. And by asking nature to, help guide you in a lot of ways too. Taurus also rules over nature and the trees and things like that, Taurus and Venus. So don't underestimate your abilities, and don't overemphasize really your pattern of behavior to resemble just being a consumer. Okay, so you want to be able to do more than consume. You want to create. So work on that, especially if you kind of had things in the background and you're really passionate about certain things. And if anything, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.